9th of December, 2023 at 12:15 p.m. in Berlin, Germany. Welcome everyone to our cosmic journey, casting our chart in the startup universe. The designer Jake here with the software engineer Trey on hand. Hello, Trey.
Hello, Jake.
So we're recording this a little bit earlier than normal because we went for a walk.
Yeah, it was really nice.
So there's a couple things that have to happen on walks. So we have a dog. We have to, he needs to do his dirty business. We also have the obligation, or I have made it my lifelong obligation to feed the crows here in Berlin peanuts. And you can see above Trey's head to his right, there's Erdnüsse, which is peanuts in German. So there's your we always have a spare supply of peanuts ready to go in case crows need it.
I'm in our supply closet for reasons that we can't explain.
Well, your supply closet, which is known as the kitchen. We were debating whether or not we should have a good background or good lighting. We've decided good lighting over good background because why?
I'm old.
We're vain. Yes, You're old. We're vain. Get used to it.
Yeah, I was being far too lit from the side, and it was too many crow's feet. It was not good.
A lot of crows today in the podcast, as it turns out. We're not going to talk any more about crows. I mean, we're not planning on talking about anything more about crows. This cycle is called Third Time's a Charm. Welcome to episode 12. Like we said, it is the 9th of December, and we've got 3 things today. I think it's going to be a little bit quicker because we actually have material things to talk about as opposed to just nothing, which tends to be the biggest podcast. Trey's got a check-in question. The Cosmic Console is back. Hotkeys are back. We have a demonstration of that today. And then if need be, we can talk about making commitments. That's kind of my thing because I did not have a whole lot of time to spend on Cosmic this week. So let's get right to your check-in question, Mr. Henry. Go forth.
Yeah. So what is or was your favorite Christmas present? And it can be a present itself, or it can be like an individual instance of a present, or it could be like a class of present, like, a whole, like I really liked getting this type of thing.
Okay. I'm going to take your question. I'm going to answer it differently.
Okay, that's fine.
There are 3 memorable presents that I have in my mind. I mean, there's many memorable presents, but there's 3 that stick out of my mind because they were very special.
Yeah.
The first present was what I will call the whiff or the swing and the miss. My parents told my Aunt Judy and Uncle Scott, who were visiting for Christmas that year, that they should buy me a thing that they thought that I would really, really enjoy. And what they bought me was a yo-yo and a demonstration video from the Smothers Brothers on how to be a yo-yo master. This videotape, by the way, is so famous because now people have taken clips of that video and put it on YouTube because it was psychedelic and weird. I had no appreciation of it when I was a little kid. I wish that I would have kept that videotape because it is amazing.
When you say videotape, are we talking like VHS here?
VHS, exactly, exactly correct. And I basically like had no desire to do all this stuff. And I remember my mom saying to my Aunt Judy, like, well, you can't win them all, so we're going to miss. So there's that one. The other one, which I think goes into my favorite class of presents, is something that I never knew that I wanted or needed, but someone else recognized for me because there's so much caring that goes into that. My parents bought me an electronic dartboard. And I think that they knew that I liked darts because every time we went to the bar, I grew up in Northern Illinois, Wisconsin. It was obviously very clear that we spent a lot of family time at the bar, which is weird for a lot of people, but not weird for Midwesterners. And every time we went to the bar, I really wanted to play darts, and I really did play darts. And we had a dartboard in our basement, and it was like an actual dartboard. And as a little kid, you could still play with actual darts, and it was absolutely fine. But they got me an electronic dartboard because I don't know, maybe it was on special. I don't even think they thought much about it, but I loved that thing because it was scratching a need that not even a need. It was scratching a thing that I never thought that I that I wanted or needed. And I just really appreciated like the caringness and kindness that went into like thinking about that present. The third class of present is the kind of throwaway present. What my mom would say is like, there has to be something else under the tree. And it was just like something that they wrapped.
Very American.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there was just this idea that like you had to have 7 presents, and there was like 2 really good ones, one kind of like, we're going to go kind of lateral with this, 3 things that were clothes, and then one just random cheap thing. The random cheap thing that year was a packet of notebook paper. And I think that any other child that got a packet of notebook paper would have like not been into it. Or maybe it was grid paper. It was just something like it was paper for sure. And I think it was weird paper. And I was so into it because I was so very driven to creation, especially like I used to draw cities when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
I
Which we
think
still
here,
have some of. Maybe
yeah.
we'll share them on the podcast at some point.
No, I was going to say, like, I think here I'm going to cut in some pictures of me of showing off the cities that I have drawn over the last time that I drew a city was like 1997. I was 18 years old. That's probably a little too old to be drawing cities, honestly.
Oh,
But
no way. No way. There's never an age gap.
There's a desire for, there's never an age gap. There's a desire for me to now take these cities and manifest them in City Skylines 2, because it's amazing. It's an amazing piece of game. I've only played that game a little bit. Anyways, but like I want goo goo gaga bananas over a pack of paper. And my parents were just like, we don't understand this kid at all. And I think they tried to buy office supplies for me later and they didn't hit. Who knows what they were, what my young mind was thinking.
Yeah.
What about you? What were either the class of gifts or
funny.
a gift that was very meaningful to you?
Yeah, I have an answer to that, but when you were talking about stationery, it actually reminded me of something I hadn't thought of in a long time, which is that my sister, I'm pretty sure it was Christmas, although it might have been a birthday, I don't know, but she made this, she got this like giant box, like cardboard box, and then it had like like paper pads in it, pens, I think like markers, painting stuff, like basically just like a bunch of stuff from like the Office Depot, like in this box that was big enough that you could like decorate it and get into it. And I was like probably like 9 or 10 or something, and it was perfect. It was so much fun. Like turned that thing into a spaceship, had like spaceship interfaces drawn on pieces of paper, like stuck up in the inside of it. Like amazing. Like knocked it out of the park. I completely had forgotten about this.
I love
Penny,
it.
if you watch this video later, thank you for that. That was amazing.
Yeah. Thank you, Penny. We always have big gratitude in the videos. Penny gets the first position here in big gratitude.
Yeah.
We have such a love of stationery in this household, even though we still have like electronic things. I don't know if you can see that first drawer, the top drawer up there is our stationery drawer. And every time I open it up, I just like get joy. It is like perfectly arranged, like pens and paper and sticky notes and everything. So like anyone needs a piece of paper in this household, go to that drawer right there. It's there for you.
Yeah. It's a nice drawer. I like that too.
It's a nice drawer. It's a very tidy stationary drawer. It's our favorite drawer.
Okay, but to my actual answer.
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Which is, there's this sometimes with presents there's an initial joy that you get out of receiving the gift and like, oh, this is so cool or whatever. And then there's some things that just really have like, maybe they weren't the most exciting thing that you got, but then years later, you're like, I so appreciate this thing. And in this particular case, it was kind of magical too, because I had identified that there was something that you wanted, because we had an experience with it from our downstairs neighbor lending us one. And you at the same time had the same thought. And so that Christmas, which I think this was maybe 3 years ago.
Maybe 2 or 3 years ago. Exactly.
Yeah, there were two presents wrapped
under
our not Christmas tree. And they both were very similar.
I handed to you, I can't remember who handed to whom.
Yeah.
Either you handed to me or I handed to you the Christmas present. And then for the purposes of the story, I think you handed to me the Christmas present. And I said, no, that's my present to you. And you're like, no, that's my present to you. And I'm like, well, we might as well open this one as well. And then I handed over my version
Yeah.
of it.
And so we
We
opened
both
them together, and they were hot water bottle
hot water bottles.
bottles, which are an amazing thing. If you, gentle viewer, do not have a hot water bottle, you absolutely must have one.
Yeah.
Especially if you live anywhere cold. Obviously, if you live somewhere where it's mostly warm, it's less of a priority. But I would still say get one anyway, because and you want one of these ones that has a cloth, a material on the outside, so it's like a rubber bottle on the inside.
While you're talking about this, the gentle viewer is seeing our water bottles right now. For sure.
Okay.
So yeah, so there's
Yeah.
a cloth thing on the outside so that it kind of protects. It's wonderful. It's good for feet when it's cold. It's good for stomachs when they're sour. It's good for hands when
it's good for your back if you're like you've got a super sore back and you're like laying in bed and you're just like my back. You just put that hot water bottle under there and it's a miracle.
Yeah,
like,
I don't have a referral code to get a kickback for water bottle purchases, so you're just gonna have to look this up on your own.
Yeah,
sorry about that.
Yeah, it's old tech that somehow like fell out of favor. I don't know why, because it is.
You know why? Because I feel like electric blankets, all of a sudden it was like electric blankets were trying to take the spot, and there's no need for an electric blanket, honestly.
No, and then of course like all like they were starting fires and they became this like big safety hazard and stuff like that. And it's like a bottle that you put like hot water in and it like
not going to start a fire.
Really nice and stuff. It's great. It's just it's wonderful. And everybody who's experienced one, like my mom when she was here visiting, mom and dad were here visiting. Mom like used ours and she was like, "This is so amazing. I must have one." And then
she forgot. She's like, "Grandma had one of these. Why don't I have one of these as well?" But like, old tech. Old tech is always good as well.
Yeah, hot water bottle.
Yeah, basically, if you're looking for a gift that's about a little bit less than 10 euros, like let's say you have to go to like a gift exchange, not a white elephant party, so it's not funny, right? Like it's an actual like reasonable gift, and you have to spend less than 10 euros. I guarantee you, the person who gets it's not going to appreciate it until they have it, and that thing is going to stay in their lives forever. The gift that I would say that has stayed in my life forever, that I was either a gift exchange or a white elephant gift. The general manager of the Frog Design Studio in Seattle gave away a scarf that she found to be ugly and stupid, which is Infinity scarf. I still have it.
It's like
I
your
love
favorite
that thing. Every time I see her, so she showed up in Berlin and I was just wearing the Infinity scarf, completely forgetting that she gave it to me. She's like, "I cannot believe you still have that Infinity scarf." And I was like, "I love it. I love that thing." that thing is probably 15 years old now. Now that I'm thinking about it. It's crazy.
We've had it since forever. And you tried on this last trip actually to the States for
I tried to get rid of it.
You tried to lose it twice. I found it.
Yeah. I keep trying to lose it and it keeps coming back to me. So there's something very charmed about that. Speaking of charmed experiences, third time's a charm here on the Cosmic Console. Hotkeys are back. Why don't you give us a demo of what has happened with the Cosmic Console?
Share screen. Share entire desktop.
You sound like you appreciated my my transition there.
I always appreciate your segues. They're absolutely brilliant.
Thank you.
Okay, so here we are again. And you'll notice that there isn't anything new on the chart itself.
There never is.
This time. Yeah,
one day there will be.
We'll get there. It's
not today.
Many steps on the long
many cycles on the way.
But a lot of these foundational pieces, as we've talked about in the past, are incredibly important to get right. And in particular, the Cosmic Console and Hotkeys is very, very important for us to get right. And I have excellent news. So the first thing I'm going to demo is the hotkeys themselves. So not every hotkey that we currently have in the design is currently in, but there's enough in there that it demonstrates that they work. The number keys 1 through 5 move through time, and
it goes minutes.
Minutes through time.
Sorry, it's interrupted. So it's like minutes, hours, days, weeks, years. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I remember correctly.
Months instead of weeks. So it's minutes.
Sorry, months, not weeks.
Yeah, it's basically the positions in like if you wrote out the time, right?
Yeah. And so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 goes forward. Shift 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 goes backwards.
Exactly. And we'll see that a couple different ways.
No. Don't give away anything just yet. We're explaining everything.
I know, but so this is the really exciting thing, is because now that we've moved to this model of having as above and so below, and we do a lot of the astrological calculation and all this stuff in as above, I'm going to move through time, and I'm just holding down the 1 key right now. and we're moving minute by minute through time. And so you can see this is plotted as houses, and you can see the houses moving in real time. And so that's going forward by minute. This is going backwards by minute.
You're holding shift 1 right
I'm
now.
holding shift 1 now.
I don't have to run over there and do a news report with a camera while you do this. No, why would I need to do that?
It's fine.
We'll believe you.
And then, yeah, so that we can go forward by hour, day, month.
Actually, can you do this? Wait. Tilt your laptop down so that we can see your hands in the camera. So like tilt your screen down. Okay. Damn it.
It doesn't go down. It doesn't go down far enough to make that.
Apple. They're losing. They're losing.
Oh no, they have that. They have a thing for this, which is you can use that secondary camera from your phone, and then they have like a cradle that sits on the top of the laptop, so you can actually.
This is it. This is the thing. This is why you use that weird camera. All right. Anyways, so we just believe you. Hit year again, and you can see that years actually kind of just bounce around a little bit.
Yeah, it's fun because cute. You can see every 4 years it pops back because we have a leap year, and then if you keep doing it over time, every century it doesn't do that, so it kind of like slips a little bit forward, but then over millennia it recorrects. It's just
amazing.
Yeah,
and so you keep hitting the N key, right? You keep hitting the N key to go back to now, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm going forward a little bit, and then I'm hitting the N key, which brings us back to the current time. So this is amazing because you can see that it's like incredibly fast. It's actually rendering on this machine, even with like Zoom and everything else running, it's probably rendering at over 100 frames per second because we have like 2 to 3 millisecond latency on getting the chart and rendering it. It's just insane.
And why is that?
Because of AsAbove, because of all of the stuff that we did there.
Yeah, because of the WebAssembly and all of that.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly that. So yeah, so this is great. So hotkeys working. Just a little bit more on the hotkeys now. So we talked way back when about the two-step tango, which is when you switch context and then enact something. So for example, you want to change the house system. And so you might say, I'm talking about the house systems. And then within the house system sort of top level category, which is the first step of a two-step, I want to change to a specific house system. So we now have all of that back in as well. And to do this, I'm going to hit the H key to go into the context of house, and then a key for the specific house system. So for example, I can hit H and then W, and we're now looking at whole sign houses for the exact same time. I can hit.
The idea is like you say house whole.
Right, exactly. I can hit HA for Alcabitius. I can hit HC for Campanus.
Crazy house system. Look at that.
For Porphyry. I didn't bring up all of the documentation here, but yeah, so you can, and, all of the rest of the hotkeys, time, movement, and all of this kind of stuff, all works as well. So now, of course, in a lot of cases, you're probably not going to be changing house system incredibly frequently, but it is something that, depending upon your context and what you're doing, and there's a number of reasons why you would want to shift that. And we want to make all of these things that are possible, we want to make them within reach, easily within reach, but also out of your way if you don't care. So this is part of the thought process here. So
nice.
And the last thing that I want to demo here, besides the hotkeys now working again, is the console. So I'm going to, one of the hotkeys is Command K or Control K, depending upon your operating system. And voila, you can see the console is back. And I can type in here, and you can see not only the filtered list of commands. Good job.
We need the confetti to celebrate.
But you can also see the hotkey. So for example, here we can say move ahead 1 year is the 5 key, and move back 1 year is shift 5.
Yay!
Likewise, if I say like the house system, this isn't actually 100% correct yet, because it should say
correct.
H then P.
Thank you. I was going to say like name the bug, name the UI bug.
Yeah.
Here.
So not everything is finished.
H
here.
And then it says H then P. Yes,
correct.
In there. Correct.
Yeah. And so this is all now working as well. So like let's do forward an hour there, and you can see that it's now gone forward an hour, or I could say go to now. So that works as well. And the one other thing that I wanted to show here, because I already talked about last time, really demoed this, like if I brought up the server console, the Sobolo console showing the log, and I was moving through time, you wouldn't see anything because it's all being done on the client in as above. So I already demoed that stuff last time. But what I wanted to show is how cool it is.
Oh, we have somebody at our door.
Oh, okay. We'll pause it and edit that out. Yeah.
Yeah. So pausing. First interruption of the podcast. Love it.
Yeah, we need a little sign on the door that says like recording in progress.
So now I realize, I think someone, I thought someone rang the front doorbell. I think they rang the, anyways,
neighbor.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Anyway,
it happens.
So back to topic. You can see here that our definition of hotkeys is declarative. In other words, there's no fancy programming happening here. You simply say we have a command. Now this command itself is magical in the system in that there are other things that know what to do with this. So for example, in this particular case, we say we have a command. It has this, or sorry, we have a hotkey. It's this command, which is kind of an arbitrary string. The binding, which I'll talk about in a second, the target. So of course here we're talking as above or so below. So you can see here, because these hotkeys for moving through time all happen purely within as above, that's the target. But if I came down to, for example, house systems, you would see that the target is so below, because it needs to update the perspective for the purposes of doing.
So anything that requires a server call will target so below. Anything.
Exactly.
What now? All right, hold on.
That's the neighbor again. Speaking of Christmas presents.
Yeah, actually, this is very, very, very strangely fortuitous. So we just got Christmas presents from my parents. Thank you very much to Ted and Doreen Zukowski, my parents, sending Christmas gifts. However, interrupting our podcast was not. They didn't mean to. We're not going to be upset about it.
Yeah, it wasn't them that interrupted our podcast. It was the delivery person who also did.
Yes. Okay. This is your gift. It's a surprise. I just read it, so I know we get. Okay, fine. I'll act. I didn't even read it. It's fine. Okay. Anyways. So here you're showing us the command that it is calling. You're showing us the binding, and that binding is either one or two keys, or you're going to show us other keys that are happening here, and the target. So if the target is as above, it's not making a round trip. It's just doing something automatically, versus going to so below, it's calling a server function instead.
Yes, exactly correct.
Great. And what is console state, by the way?
Console state is whether or not this is something that is done when the console is open, done when the console is not open, or done in either case. The reason this is important is because we don't want to, with hotkeys, so for example, with the number keys, right? Like 1 through 5 to move through time. If you have a input box in a form somewhere on the page, and you're constantly looking for those keys, and then you're preventing the normal behavior of those keys within the thing, then you just wouldn't be able to type them into an input. And so this sort of context of when do we do the thing is needed in order to only do the things when they're supposed to be done, basically.
Only do the needful.
Yeah.
Got it.
Okay, but anyway, like what I wanted to show here is, so you can see here, if I pull up the console, that go to now is the N key, and that all works. And then if I'll just put Alt here. So we have a way of designating these keys so that you can specify, like if you say a modifier key plus another key, then that obviously means that those modifiers need to happen. You can supply multiple. So let's say that it's Shift Alt N to move to now. And then in the case that you have that sort of two-step thing where it's like H then P to go to Placidus houses, then you just use a space. So I've done no coding here at all. I've simply just changed this declarative change this declaration of hotkeys. And then if I go back here, you can now see.
Look at that.
Go to now, says Shift Option N. And if I'm just going to close that. If I go forward a little bit in time and then I hold Shift Option N, it doesn't work.
Busted.
Ooh. I don't know why it's not working. Oh, it's our first like demo failure.
Yeah, terrible.
Okay,
so
there's something happening that's preventing that from working correctly.
To be fair, you wanted extra time to make sure this was all going to work, and I'm like, no, let's just do the video. Let's do it now. So here we are. This is all my fault.
Maybe it's because I know what I did. I incorrectly did the declaration. Okay, this is great. Actually,
this is great.
There is, when you use multiple, they have to be in alphabetical order, because there has to be a system that says, like, if you're going to have multiple keys, how do you define them in such a way that you make sure that they're consistently defined, basically.
Okay.
And so in this case, I have to put the Alt first. I'm pretty sure this is going to be the case. We're doing it live, because it would be A then S. So I'm going to come here. It still looks the same. And then I'm going to go forward in time, and then I'm saying Alt Shift N.
Wow! Look at you, live debugging.
If I go forward through time, and then I hit N, so I'm just hitting the N key like from before.
That doesn't work any longer.
It won't work anymore because that's not a defined hotkey.
That don't work no more.
So yes, so that's the kind of cool. So when we talk about the reason that's useful, maybe to look at is when we talk about how we build these systems and making them easy and declarative. So now when we need to add hotkeys, or if we need to modify hotkeys, or when we get to doing hotkeys for different keyboard layouts, we have a system in place that lets us move quickly on that kind of thing, and unlocks the ability for us to really build the product out in the way that we want it to work, because hotkeys are so important to us.
And hotkeys are going to change. They're going to change based upon locale, which we had talked about in episode 4. So episode 4, in chart rehab, we talked about how the hotkeys are going to change by locale. And so being very flexible on our hotkeys, and also like seeing how people use the software and adjusting to that, and not having a code change to do that, but rather even dumb old designer Jake could go in there and change the hotkeys, all better for the customer experience when we're actually testing these things out. And we're going to take a look at those things.
Yeah, exactly. And right now it is in a code file, even though it's just a declarative list of stuff. Eventually we could move those into the database, or we could move them into a flat file, or we could put them kind of anywhere. They could be defined anywhere. You know, doesn't
I have a GitHub account. I could probably do it. It's fine. All good.
Yeah.
So
that's a demo.
That's a demo. Very good. The last thing that we wanted to talk about today is just kind of this side thing. And I've been getting into this. I don't know. I've been talking to another person we're going to show genuine gratitude to, third person on the list, because we've given her gratitude, I think, in 3 different podcasts now. Sophia Prater. That's how she says her name. Her name in German, Sophia Prater, but just fine. I should say Prater. She had recommended, we had a lovely conversation. She recommended me to read this book, which is 4,000 Weeks, Time Management for Mortals, of which I wish that he would have said mere mortals, but that's fine. He said mortals. And right now, about a third of the way through the book. And I'll say that, like, early on, it felt a little bit like a stitching together of kind of random thoughts through like blog entries that was kind of turned into a book, kind of like The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F was. But I'm getting to a point now where he's talking about, like, what is the right level of procrastination. And essentially it's this idea of, like, when you make a commitment to something, whether that commitment is to somebody in your life, like Trey, whether that commitment is to, like, what you are going to do with your time, like the tasks and projects that you're going to work on, and the sacrifice of things that you're going to say, I don't have time for this because I only have a limited amount of time, and therefore I have to make a commitment to something. There's freedom that comes in that, because once you make the commitment, it frees your mind away from all of the other possibilities of what could be. And you just say, I'm not going to be the sumo wrestler. I'm not going to be the underwear model. I'm not going to be the politician. I'm not going to be the lawyer. I'm going to be the astrology guy. And I feel like one thing, because I was never attracted to astrology the same way that Trey is attracted to astrology. Like, I'm attracted to it because it is incredibly deep and complex of a design problem, but I don't use it in my everyday life or, I'd say I would use it on occasion, but I don't use it in my everyday life for solving problems. I'm not like casting horary charts to ask how my dog is feeling, for example, like other people might be doing. That doesn't mean that in the future I won't do that or I can't do that. But like today, that's not what I do. And I'll say that like a lot of I was having a lot of angst because I realized after it was either the last podcast or the podcast before, which we will link to up here whenever I figure out what podcast that was. By the way, I've got 3 links to podcasts now. I write down the links as we do this kind of thing. It's very, very
Yeah,
rough.
you're making your production job tough because you got to splice in some video of our drawer of like stationery and notebook paper.
Drawer stationery. I've got maps to show. I've got Christmas presents to show. Like, I've got all kinds of things to show this. And then I've got like episodes I'm referring to. Anyways, one of the things I said is like, we're making a lifetime commitment. And after I said that statement in the podcast, I did stop and I said to myself, if I make a lifetime commitment to be the astrology guy, like, that might be in my obituary, right? Like, all of a sudden it's now Jake Zukowski, astrology guy. And it's not going to be Jake Zukowski, politician, game show host,
lawyer,
weirdo fantasy map maker. Like, there's a bunch of things that I'm not going to be anymore. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, is this what I want my legacy to be? Like, is this where I want my legacy to stand? And the way in which humans can kind of like not deal well with legacy and not deal well with the finitude of energy and time is to have lots of irons going in many fires. And I am completely a victim of this as well, where I'm like, but I don't want to close the opportunities for me to be, game show guy or fitness model guy or, maybe even lawyer guy.
Yeah, I like I mentioned this morning too, might as well say on the podcast that a good friend who is a therapist and also does astrology as part of their therapy practice, said to me at some point in the past, every part of the angst of decision making is that when you make a decision, you are saying I'm doing this, and then you're saying also I'm not doing all.
And I'm not doing that. Exactly.
Yeah, and it's actually more the things that you're not going to do now than it is the thing that you have actually decided that you're going to do. And that commitment, it comes with that sort of like a sense of loss of the things that like in this example, like the things I'm not going to be all of these other things, I'm going to be this thing. But on the other hand, it does make a lot of things simpler and easier.
Yes.
You just don't have to worry about as many things that are in the purview of stuff which you've said, that's not who I'm going to be this iteration. So I use the example also of a coworker, Vish, at this company Nebula that we did. Shout out to Vish. If you ever see this, you're a wonderful person. But in the sort of as we were getting a little bit, Nebula was getting long in the tooth, let's say, and we kind of knew that it was probably we were going to have some kind of exit.
Yeah, the exit was not, and it was not going to be entirely positive. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it was still like, I think at this point in time, it was still a little bit like nobody really knew, and you never really know, right? Yeah. But I think Vish was kind of like really thinking about maybe leaving the company and taking another opportunity. There were many opportunities. Vish is really good, and so there was many opportunities available. And some conversation had happened. I wasn't a part of that conversation, but then when I talked to Vish about it later, basically what he told me was, look, in order for me, I made a commitment to the company. Chris, our founder and CEO, co-founder and CEO, said like, we can promote you into this role of basically like, I think it was vice president of engineering, like heading up engineering. But you have to commit to stay until like the end, like whatever that
Exactly.
is. And he basically said, like, that made my decision process a lot easier, because at the time that I talked with him, I was having a lot of angst around this as well. And he was basically like, yeah, I committed myself. Like, I committed myself to doing this. And now I don't have to worry about resumes and other job offers and all of these other things because I'm doing this.
You
Yeah,
just
no,
need to make certain commitments to yourself about what you are going to limit yourself. You are settling, and settling is a good thing because you are saying, this is what I'm committing myself to, and I'm going to put my time and energy towards that.
yeah, yeah. It's good to have the things that you commit to. And I think going through that process too is instructive on the things that I think people get really hung up on the idea of like, what is my passion? Like, what is, getting really wound up around, like, you could just pick something. You could just pick something and commit to it. And now you're that guy. And that's amazing. Like, that's magical. Yeah. Like the fact that you could be like, I'm going to be this guy. And
I'm going to be this guy.
If you commit to it and you put in enough time to do it, you're going to be that guy. Right. I actually thought it was from like an animated series or something. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. The point that I want to make about
the one you're talking about is Steven Universe. Steven Universe has the figures that he gets. Yeah. And he's like,
the little figurines.
Yeah, I got tax guy, or I got whatever guy.
Yeah, that's what it is. But the point that I wanted to make is that we're using guy as not a gendered term, but as a like the person that you might be if you commit yourself to something.
Yeah. Go be that guy if you're a male. Go be that person if you don't associate with the gender.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Whatever works for you.
Whatever works for you.
Yeah.
I've got a whole lot of editing to do now, dude, because of this podcast and because of the interruptions and my choices. So let me go do that. Thank you, Trey. Thank you, listener. Be well. Love yourself. Love some other people, and make some goddamn commitments. How about that? Yeah. Make some goddamn commitments. That's all I'm going to say about that. Be well. Love you. Bye.
Bye.